When I'm making a doll that has the same fabric for the whole body, I will just lay out a big piece of fabric, make sure all the pieces fit with enough room for a seam allowance, and then I fold that fabric over to make sure I have enough for both sides of the doll. And that's when I will attach the SF101. And this is for the ears because the ears have two different fabrics. So I make sure I have enough for 2 ears on each fabric. And then again, we'll attach the SF101. This is how I attach SF101. I use it so much I have a whole bolt of it. But I will just take it straight from the bolt, roll the whole thing out on my pressing table, and lay my fabric on top. So this is the glue side up right now. I will lay the fabric on top so that wrong side of the fabric is on the glue side of the SF101. And I just use a hot iron to press across the fabric to fuse it. And when I have extra small pieces like these, I will try to line the fabrics up so there is no space in between. That way your iron is not touching the glue. Definitely don't touch the glue with your iron because it will make your iron disgusting. However, if you do touch the glue, there's a product that cleans your iron really well, and it's actually really easy to get off. So don't worry about it too much. Once you have the SF101 fused well to your fabric, you just take some scissors, cut it out, and then we're ready to transfer the pattern. So you fold it in half, right sides together, lay out. This is why I love using freezer paper, because you can just press the template right onto your fabric and it sticks, and then you can trace it really easily. Your pattern doesn't move. Then you can just peel your pattern right off and place it in the next area and trace it again. So it's just super easy. I really love it, and I hope you guys try it. The thing that's really important to remember during this step is to allow plenty of space in between each piece so that when you go to cut it out, you have plenty of space for the seam allowance. And the reason why I use SF101 for all my Tilda dolls is because it gives some extra support to that fabric when you stuff the doll. I tend to stuff my dolls pretty tightly, so there is some stress on the seams, and most of my, I'll say all of my Tilda dolls, angels, creatures, have gone to kids who like to play with them, tug at them. So I just like to give as much support as possible. The other thing to add support that I do is I use Aurifil 40 weight cotton thread. I feel like it's just a little bit stronger. I definitely do sometimes use 50 weight thread, so if that's all you have, that's fine. The ears have 2 fabrics, so we just layer those 2 fabrics and we trace the pattern. The other tip that I will say at this point is that when you go to sew these shapes, you want to set your stitch length to, my machine does 1.5. You just want to set it much shorter than your normal stitch length. That way you can really get that curve nice and precise. You really want to stay right on that line, go slow, be patient, and you will be happy with your results. One more thing about when you go to sew these shapes, there's always an opening where you're going to turn the piece out. So at your start and stop points, you want to back tack. That way, when you go to turn this piece out, these pieces are pretty small. So when you go to turn your piece out, those back tacks will help secure that opening. That way you're not undoing the stitches. I cut a pretty small seam allowance, as you can see, with pinking shears. That way when you turn it out, your seams stay smooth. This is a little peek at how I turn these tiny pieces. I'm not saying this is the right way to do it. This is just how I do it and it works for me. But what you want to do is you want to basically get that space going between your layers, and then you're going to take the very tip of the shape and you're going to push it into itself. And once that is kind of the hard finagly thing, but once you get that, then you can you just roll it over itself. So I use a pencil just because the eraser has some grip, and you kind of just roll the shape over itself. And sometimes I use the table for leverage, and you just work the shape. And then I like to use tweezers to kind of really push the seam so it's nice and clean. And then I will actually finger press that seam. I do press the bunny ears with a hot steamy iron just because I like how that looks, but it's up to you. So here you can see all the body pieces all sewn on one piece of fabric. And I just use pinking shears, cut out each piece with a pretty small seam allowance, and that's it. In the next video, I will go more into depth about how I turn the small pieces, and I'll show you how I stuff the dolls. Thanks for watching.